Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cleveland Browns postgame show. Final score: Ravens 28, Browns 3 in a thrashing on our home field. I know a lot of people are going to come here to see if I'm going to scream, if I'm going to rant. I knew this game was over the second Deshaun Watson wasn't going to play. I knew that DTR was just a preseason illusion because they're only playing at 50 to 75% speed, and he just not ready for what was thrown in front of him. And here's the bottom line. And people are saying, well, why did we hold on to Dobbs? For the same reason you don't hold on to my dick. It's just, what's the point? Why would you do such a thing?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you think that would have made any difference in the great scheme of things, you're wrong. And as far as Deshaun Watson not playing, I'm more concerned about whether Deshaun Watson is going to be playing 2 weeks from now. Yeah. Here's the deal with that. And I've done some reading because the reading I was doing on the internet was far more interesting than what was happening on the television screen in front of me. When fluid appears around the rotator cuff in the shoulder, it could indicate bursitis, which would be the first situation. And another possibility would be a tendon issue, but they're not saying there was any tear that was seen, just fluid. I'm guessing that it could be, and I don't know because, the Browns are being coy like they always are. And as long as they have Mary Kay Cabot to lie with them, they're never going to tell us the truth about anyone's health or situation. My guess is that it is shoulder bursitis, and that the fluid that you're seeing or that they're seeing in the MRI around the rotator cuff is an indication of something that happened from the collision in the bursa. If that's the case, 2 to 4 weeks. I don't make it up. I just tell you the truth. The only thing you can do with bursitis, because it's an irritation, is to shut him down completely, rest, anti-inflammatories. I think you might need to turn your mic down a little, Bronk. And, rest, anti-inflammatories, and possibly to drain fluid out of the bursa, if that's what it is. Now, if it's not what it is, then there's a problem on our hands. If it turns out there's something involved in the tendon, then he's gone for the year. Okay. Now, I can't imagine that they would have given him an MRI and that's what they would release. But this is Jimmy Haslam, and the bottom line is he tried to throw with it before the game. He couldn't throw, and which resembled DTR in many ways, who didn't have a problem with his shoulder. He had a problem with his nerves, perhaps. So I can't guarantee or tell you that Deshaun Watson is going to be able to play the week after the bye. That's I
don't think he will.
I don't know. I don't think I don't think anybody knows at this point. The diagnosis is 2 to 4 weeks if it's bursitis, and a professional athlete will have better care than what an average person would. But they may in this period of time they may immobilize the shoulder. My feeling is this: they have to practice the week before, leading into the San Francisco game. And if you're still not seeing Deshaun Watson, it's a safe conclusion that A, it's a more serious injury than the Browns are letting on, and 2, that the season's over. That would be what I would tell you. Now, I can't tell you that that's the case, though, because without seeing the radiology, that I could show it to people who would know what it might be, I can only go by looking and reading, and I will continue to find out more about it as I can. A lot of people are going to be very negative about this game. I'm not negative about it. The better team won. I think the Ravens are better than the Browns. I think the Ravens have always been better than the Browns. I think they will always be better than the Browns as long as Kevin Stefanski has anything to do with it. They have his number. They know his offense. Doesn't matter who's running the offense. And to be very honest with you, they're doing it with injured people out, and you can't use injuries as an excuse. What you can say is, Roquan Smith backed up his words. He broke into the house and threatened our wives and children. And good for him, because that's what men do. Men back up their talk with actions. And yes, he ripped a guy's helmet off. But the reason, and I get tired of saying, of people ask me, well, how come he could get away with that? And it's like, you don't understand.
Oh, you've explained this so many times.
Reputation. And when you're a tough team, you get away with that stuff. And when you're a team that is a pussy team, you're the victim. You're the victim, and you don't get away with any cheap shots that you give. Yes, he ripped the helmet off. That is not supposed to be done. It will never be called on him because he's the best defensive player they have on the field, and they are asserting an alpha male dominance. All right? Yeah. That's the answer to your question. The next thing, what's wrong with DTR? And my answer is nothing at all. He was a 5th-round pick. He was a 5-year college quarterback, and he looked good during preseason because nobody was covering anybody, and nobody was, let's be honest, with 2 games in the preseason, or maybe 3 for the Browns because of the Hall of Fame game, nobody's going at it hard to get themselves injured. It's easy enough in practice just to get non-contact injuries and soft tissue injuries. No one's going out in those games and playing hard.
Yeah, he wasn't playing against any all pros in a fucking hostile environment either. So, he had no chance. Yeah. I'm just wondering whether he's got a noodle arm or whether his arm's like NFL caliber. It was hard to tell, really.
Well, the mechanics are such that he was leaning backwards on a lot of his throws because he was afraid of the pressure that was coming at him. He was flinching. The last interception that the second to last interception that he threw, he actually ducked his head like he was avoiding somebody was throwing it, and that made the ball sail. His mechanics are all busted because the game is moving way too fast for him. And we've seen this a million times with young quarterbacks. He should have been a 3rd-string quarterback, not a 2nd-string quarterback. But again, this is 2020 hindsight, and this is something every quarterback is going to face, and that's the speed of the game. And
I'd definitely play P.J. Walker, against the 49ers, assuming that Watson can't throw. So it doesn't really matter.
Every rookie has to have his baptism, so to speak. We're going to bring Hammer Time in here. Hi, Jim. How you doing?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. The worst news of the day was when I saw the injury report and they said officially that Deshaun Watson wasn't playing.
Right.
And then the answer is you got a 5th-round rookie quarterback, just like you just said, playing against one of the better defenses historically in the NFL.
Yep.
It's not going to be pretty.
No.
And it wasn't.
No.
they were what we said they were, right?
And they were able to do what they wanted to do. And it's just one more game in which they dominate us, and it builds their confidence, and it demoralizes the people on our team.
And you know what it was like? It was like watching the Russian army invade Berlin in 1945. That's what it was like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what it looked like to me is that the defense kind of let down and collapsed when they saw that there was no hope in hell that the offense was going to move the football at all. And I don't for the life of me understand why the game plan was put together knowing that this MRI existed on Deshaun Watson, and why they came out throwing the football and not trying to establish a ground game. I don't understand that at all either, because this turns into Woody Hayes territory when you drop back to throw a ball, and now with a rookie quarterback in his first NFL appearance against a legendary defense historically. Three things can happen. Two of them are bad. That's,
Right.
and that's exactly what happened. We should have tried to run the football early, and we should have been throwing outside the numbers, as I said on the podcast on Friday. Instead, he was throwing everything over the middle. Roquan Smith was just following him with his eyes and almost picked off two of those passes. The ball that was picked off was thrown 100 miles an hour, so far behind Amari Cooper that it was batted and it went 20 feet in the air, I swear to God. Yeah. And it was like fielding a punt to get the interception. Yeah. Everything was out of sync. The quarterback was frightened, and the offensive game plan was untouched from if Deshaun Watson was playing to the naked eye, and they didn't even try to use their running backs. So it is what it is. The defense, for their part, finally let down. And that is something that Jim Schwartz is just going to have to work on.
Well, I mean, we could be hard about that, but it's sort of like human nature to do that. I know these guys are paid professionals and all that shit, but let's face it, if us were out there, I think our heads would have dropped too by that part of the second quarter.
I'm looking at Free Tilly in the chat room, and something. I've come to a conclusion. The eye test is the easiest test. And if you were watching USC in Colorado, and you see Colorado coming back at the end, and those kids playing hard until the end, and watch the offensive coordinator ruin any possible chance they had to win that game by not, he had no timeouts.
The running plays,
running the ball up the middle, and then standing around in a huddle, and the players are looking around while minutes are running off the clock. If that guy has a job within the next few weeks, in my world, he'd be out of there. It's like, right. Where is your urgency? These kids have just come back from an incredible deficit on their home field. They've put up 41 points, and they only need one more touchdown. What in the hell's the matter with you? That's the eye test. And my eye test was they had him going back to throw for the beginning of the game, and the pressure that was put on him rattled him early, and he stayed rattled the entire game.
Yeah, he definitely was locked on a lot. On a lot of those plays, he was picking out, his primary receiver and kind of staying with him. Rookie mistakes, look how many quarterbacks were drafted in this draft by the time we got to DTR. And, he is an experienced person, but you just saw, I think a great example is just what you brought up, the USC Colorado game, where both those quarterbacks threw for a combined 11 touchdowns. Yep. And over 1,000 yards of offense between those two teams. They were both over 500 yards. Okay? Defenses in college are not the same as the National Football League.
There's speed and strength at every position on an NFL field, and there's nothing that you can exploit. The windows of throws are much narrower. It takes a unique skill and talent to be an NFL quarterback. That's really what it comes down to. Now David is saying that Tomlin has said the Steelers are going to make changes. Maybe they're going to start playing in front of educated fans who don't pick their noses.
No,
that's no. Now I guess that can't happen because that's like the permanent infestation of Pittsburgh. I think the changes they're going to make is they're going to go out with samurai swords and just gore their opponents in front of the officials and see if they can get away with it. Maybe that's a change they're looking for. Did Minkah Fitzpatrick get injured? I know that Pickett got injured. I was hoping that Minkah would, and it would result in like toe amputations like Dion had. But
Wow.
I don't feel anything for the Steelers whatsoever, and I really don't care about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So next week, the Ravens and the Steelers, do we cheer for career-ending injuries while we watch this game?
Dude, we've been doing that for years. What are you talking about? You and I have been doing that for 40 years.
I don't want to see. I really don't want to see anyone get hurt. I don't want to see people cause other people to get hurt either.
They can get hurt for the game, Moo. Come on, just put them out for the game.
I mean, just incidental plays like what happened to Myles Garrett, who's going to be gone for a couple of weeks because that's a sprained ankle. That's a high ankle sprain, and you're not going to be seeing him for a while. So, I mean, but that's an innocent play. That's just the luck of, the roll of the dice. That's the way it happens in the NFL.
Rams just.
I'm more worried about the offensive line injuries. Jones going
everybody's
out.
Dead.
Poke going out. We had a couple guys there, and that's. I'm more concerned about the depth there because we know there's such a drop off. So when we get to Nick Harris and James Hudson, it's not quite.
When we get to the point in the fourth quarter where Wyatt Teller's questioning the refs, giving him a holding call, which probably was bullshit. I mean, what is the point? Just line up and do your play and hope for the best. I
mean, even if Deshaun Watson does come back. I mean, I was going to say they couldn't carry DeJuan Jones off the field. they kind of led him off the field.
Have a cart big enough for him.
I don't know what happened to him specifically, but the referees immediately called him off the field. Maybe his nutritionist said he needed 6 hamburgers. I have no idea, but they got him off the field quickly. But when you have Hudson. You have Hudson the third in the game, and you've got all these people. I mean, Deshaun Watson's going to get murdered with these people. There will be no run game. There will be no pass game. So we've seen this year after year with the Browns' offensive line, and there is no help for the offense because Kevin Stefanski rides herd on that. And the person in the chat room asking, do we need an offensive coordinator? We don't have an offensive coordinator. We have a head coach who thinks he's an offensive coordinator. We have an offensive coordinator who's a glorified quarterbacks coach who just does what he's told. And I think if you're talking about changes needing to be made, the changes that need to be made are on the offensive side of the ball because Schwartz will get them to do the best they can do because he ain't going to sit still for this shit. He is a hard-driven guy. Stefanski just sits there and goes, I probably coached bad, but, and it's like, we were mediocre, and so was I. Yeah, that's what it is. So
there's a great tweet out there. It says, live Kevin Stefanski is being led up to the podium for the Browns post-game press conference. It just makes me sound like for the
seeing eye dog
to the gallows.
And this notion that Watson himself decided not to play, and again, this implies something. He couldn't throw the ball, David. He couldn't throw the ball. And they didn't tell us that there was fluid on an MRI near his rotator cuff. Now, if you know anything about baseball, and I don't know if you do or you don't, but, a rotator cuff injury of any sort. I've had a rotator cuff injury, and I can tell you how it happened. It was really bizarre. I was actually in a podiatrist's office, and I wanted to tie my shoes. And so I put my foot on a box so I could lean down and tie my shoes. It looked like there was something in the box. There was nothing in the box.
So you toppled over.
Oh, yeah. And I caught myself with my one arm against the wall, and that gave right out in the supraspinatus. All right. And the supraspinatus, so is right kind of there. All right. Rotator cuff goes here. It goes back to here. It goes up to here. So, and that was not a fun injury. That was something that I wasn't going to play tennis for a while after that. So, again, I didn't have it MRI'd, so I can't tell you if there was fluid on the MRI or not. But, yeah, I was sorry to hear about Tim Wakefield passing away, too. The only thing that would be justice is that Curt Schilling would get hit by a car. I don't know if you followed the story, but for some goddamn reason, Schilling, who is a jerk, divulged that Wakefield had brain cancer against his consent, and the family specifically said they wanted privacy in the matter. And a week before he dies, Schilling has to say that so he can get attention on a podcast. I think that sucks.
Well, I think Schilling's pretty much a piece of shit anyway. So
yeah, Schilling is a piece of shit. But yeah, 57's too young, and the thing with brain cancer is it moves very, very fast. And
I think we all agree that 57's too young. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I started this game off with I had a. This is a shameless plug, but I had this delicious Crown Royal whiskey and lemonade, and my thought was to have a sip out of it every time the Browns scored. It's full.
It's still full, yeah.
Oh, no, you should have intravenously got it into you so you could blither yourself away so you didn't have to remember this game.
The National Football League is a strange bird. Speaking, just thinking of it. So the Miami Dolphins have scored 90 points in 2 weeks and blew out one team and got crushed the second week.
Is that incredible? NFL this year is pretty wild. And the Bears, did they end up blowing the whole lead against Denver?
They lost. Yeah. 21-point lead and lost.
Are they doing this on purpose?
The defense might be, but Fields actually had a really good day. He had 3 touchdowns at the half. He was doing really well. So I don't know what the final. I'll have to take a look and see if I can see a final stats on him. But
and Denver, how did Denver score? Who was playing for Denver that could put up that many points? But it's been a weird season. Look what happened to the Bengals. Now, did Joe Burrow play?
Oh, you know what? It was on the other channel. I didn't bother to watch it.
Neither did I. But they were getting beat was 20-something to 3.
Joe Burrow played the whole game, was 20 of 30 for 165 and no scores, no picks. But sacked 3 times. Yeah. They got nothing. Mixon had 67 yards. They got nothing. It's sad. But I can see if I can find the stats on that daggone Bears game. 31-28. It says Russ Wilson, 21 of 28, 3 touchdowns, 223. The Bears, Justin Fields, 28 of 35 for 335, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Wow. There was a lot of stuff here. And then the scoring at the end of it here, there was here it is. At the end of it, they came back, 3 touchdowns and unanswered. Touchdown at the end of the third quarter, 9 minutes in, 6 minutes and 55 left, and then a field goal to win it.
Yeah. I knew we were going to lose the second Watson didn't play, but the problem here is when somebody's coming into your place, when the stadium early on went quiet and dead, it was all over. It was just like the old Cleveland Browns all over again, and the fans leaving, 40% of the fans leaving. And this is one of the reasons why players want to leave, because this is a hard game. And I don't think a lot of fans realize how hard it is physically, emotionally, and the abuse that the players take from fans in public. It's a tough thing. And everything is about bouncing back. You play a good game, you play a bad game. That's the way it's been for the Browns this season. You play a good game, then you play a bad game. Then you play a good game, then you play a bad game. We're coming back after the bye against a team that we really have very little chance of beating in the 49ers. But I don't I don't predict these things because I'm never right, you see. I would tell you the 49ers are going to roll over us like that, like we're not there. I don't know that. I don't know anything. What I do know is that if you would have said to me 3-1 at the 4 poll, I would have said, "Oh, that'd be great." If you said 2-2, I'd say, you're still in this. If you would have told me 2-2, but we lost to both the Steelers and the Ravens, I go, not so good at 2-2, but still better than the 1-3 and 0-4 that I've seen too many times anyway. So nothing is, nothing is carved in stone here. I think that there are a lot of bodies who have to heal up, and I think the lies that we get from the media are being asked to be done by the ownership of the team. I mean, all this Nick Chubb's injury wasn't that bad.
Oh, God.
It wasn't that bad. It's just an MCL. That's what we're hearing. Yeah, you fucking liars. And you got Mary Kay Cabot, the Hall of Fame reporter, and she's doing the same thing and repeating the same shit 5 hours before that game began. That's how I ended up my halftime show, and I'm not done with it yet. 5 hours. He then gets on the field, and he can't even throw 4 or 5 passes. But her headline says he's ready to go, ready to play, because that's what ownership told her to write. There is no pride. There isn't even a shred of integrity in the whole thing. It's just whatever they say, we'll write it, and you stupid fucker who's reading this will believe it.
And pay for it, too, through the paywall.
And through a paywall, you'll pay for propaganda. I'm so sick of propaganda. The political shit, the sports shit, it's all just, and you repeat things as many times as you can on social media, and you try to make it true, and it's just bullshit. And these injuries are never going to be honestly reported. And so I can't tell you where the Cleveland Browns are at. I can't tell you just how badly hurt Deshaun Watson is. And the whole thing with Nick Chubb turns out to be, by the way, he's going to need a second surgery for his ACL. Yeah. It's like, I thought it was just an MCL. And then the meniscus was injured. Well, you didn't mention that either. But I knew damn well the meniscus had to be injured because the meniscus is so easy to tear. But then this great one. Yeah, we think we're going to see him again in 2024.
No.
No. You'll see him. You'll see him in 2024. But the injury they're describing is a 6 to 8 month recovery. If it's a simple, if it's such a thing, ACL reconstruction, they're not telling us something that we need to know because they're saying you're not going to see him for a year.
You might not see him in 2024 at all.
Well, and that's the other thing they could, there were complications, but you can't believe anything they're saying. That's the point. And so
I'd say Chubb's gone for not only this year, but next year. I mean, anybody who saw that angle of that injury nearly saw his leg amputated. Let's be honest. That's what it looked like. And did Joe Theismann come back from nearly getting his leg amputated? No, but not really.
Theismann's was broken. This is the joint. This reminds me more of
Gale Sayers.
No, the quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Remember when he had his knee thing that they did?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me more of that, where you just kind of thought, there's so much stuff in there. If it's just ACLs, MCLs, that stuff, they can repair those things, even though his knee has been repaired before. The question just is what's left to connect it to, right?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because after a certain point, you just can't, like your shoulder move. After you have a couple surgeries, 2 or 3 surgeries, there's just nothing left to work.
That's right. That's right. And it's one of the reasons why, in the old days when they first started doing knee replacements, they had to take so much bone out. They said, you better wait. You better wait until you're real old before you get this procedure, because there ain't no second bite of the apple, man. This is the only one we can do because we take out more, too much, more bone. Now they figured out a way to do this by taking less bone out of your knee so that they will have somewhere in the vicinity of an 80% or some such 84% percentage of successful second knee replacements, so that people are getting knee replacements when they're younger. I waited until the last possible moment, and that was when I was 62, and I hope this thing lasts me to the end. I don't want to go through it again, but the fact is that I could. And, I don't know what the situation is with Nick Chubb. We're not going to get the truth from anybody. That's for damn sure. So I have to assume when somebody just builds a picture of, a year, I mean, that's 12 months. And what you're telling me is there's other considerations that are complicating this. This is not just an MCL, an ACL, and meniscus repair. There's something, and it may be the previous problem that he had that was reconstructed. We don't know what that is, but they're not telling us that. But I think I'm saying this because an intelligent person would pick up on that. It's just like when they tell us that there's fluid around, and they don't, why didn't they just say, well, there was some fluid located on the shoulder? Why did they mention the rotator cuff?
Correct.
So there's more going on here. I just can't tell you what it is. So that way, when he doesn't come back, it's like, well, there was some complications. And Mary Kay will say, oh, no, it wasn't the rotator cuff. It wasn't. Then finally it'll be, it turned out to be the rotator cuff. Unbelievable. It's just misinformation. And the only reason, I'll be honest with you, because do I think the Browns are going to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime? No. No. I think that the reason that I do this program as I get older is because of the dissemination of misinformation that goes on in everything we do. I mean, can you believe I'm watching on Fox 19, CBS 19 in Cleveland, the pregame show, which is, BetMGM, it's got every gambling thing, in sight, so the viewer can see that that's who's sponsoring the show.
Wow.
And the hosts on the show, including Joshua Cribbs, they're all saying, well, at least there's some progress having been made because players now are going to be able to gamble on sports outside of football. I go, who gives a fuck? I just want them to play on the field. I don't give a shit. I don't need to know. But of course you believe that because they're the assholes who are putting money in your pocket. And the fact of the matter is, gambling is destructive. It destroys marriages. It destroys families. It destroyed Atlantic City. Entire cities have gone down the shitter due to gambling. The crime isn't the players gambling. The crime is the NFL crawling into bed with these people.
Oh, yeah.
That's the crime.
You thought it was bad before when we would give lines and stuff like that. But now there's entire shows dedicated to betting on not only the NFL, but college sports as well. It's just kind of, gotten off the deep end. And every radio show is sponsored by some, if you listen to 92.9 The Fan or whatever the hell it is, right? 92.3 The Fan. And here in Columbus, it's 97.1 The Fan. If you listen to those stations, every different show, they have a bunch of local shows. Every one is sponsored by a different betting organization.
Yep.
One's Hard Rock, one's Barstool or whatever, one's Hollywood Casino, one's, every single one has a different thing on it. And, Bronk, you've been living with this overseas for years.
It's
everything
terrible,
is bet on over there.
You know what the difference is now, Hammer? years ago, they approached me. All right. Yeah. But it was offshore people. All right. Everything that was kind of hush hush is now out in the wide open, has been legalized. Yeah. So, I mean, it's all above board. They can get away with anything they want. So it's,
I think that's why they didn't say anything about Deshaun's injury until late, because, boy, as soon as that happened, I'm thinking bet the under and bet the Ravens.
Because, and free Tilly, that's why you got to stop the what is it, the sign pattern,
up and the cycle
of the sine wave.
I mean, only last week, it's a 17-week season, and I really don't care about the up and down kind of thing. I look at what troubles me, what I'm seeing with my eyes. I don't look ahead. I just say, this game, I'm here to analyze the game. And this is what doesn't make any sense to me. The game plan didn't make any sense. And the fans getting all hyped up about DTR just because of preseason didn't make any sense to me. I knew the team was going to lose and lose badly when I found out that Watson wasn't going to play. I think there is probably a 70% chance they'd have lost with Watson. Yeah. It just didn't look like the team. I mean, we started out defensively doing what we were supposed to do, but we got in the hole with, again, a turnover. And you just can't do that against teams that love to play these physical games, and to have turned the ball over and given up that touchdown. And I want to say something else. Every one of the touchdowns that they scored up to this point were on the legs of Lamar Jackson. He would just run the ball in. And when he did that, I said, well, then nobody's home. Yeah. Nobody's paying attention. We played a bad football game, and there were a lot of reasons why it was a bad football game. But I look at it through my eyes and I say, what I saw doesn't really jive with the message that Schwartz was putting out. Didn't play nearly hard enough to beat a team the caliber of the Ravens. And the Ravens are the best team in the conference. And now, what was the Cincinnati final score, for God's sake?
Something to 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, they're finished. They're done.
They're done.
And I mean, and obviously there's something wrong with Joe Burrow. Yeah. And they're playing him anyway, and that's like the kiss of death.
27-3 to the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, and the Titans are a team that scored 3 points against us and couldn't get first downs. What does it tell you? And the Steelers just getting stomped on. I don't know how long Pickett was in the game or who came in for Pickett afterwards, but they were behind from the get-go. They were down like 16-6 and lost
23-6.
30-6.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I think and Mitch Trubisky was 3 of 5 for 18 yards. Pickett had 114 yards on 15 of 23. So, yeah.
Well,
their combined quarterback rating was 60. It was not healthy at all. They didn't score against us, really. It was the defense.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I want to respond to what San Juan Creole is saying. What you saw was not 5 wide, okay? 5 wide is what the team should have done, throwing outside the numbers. The quarterback was throwing down the middle of the field, and there were 3 men on Amari Cooper at all times, and Roquan Smith following his eyes down the middle of the field, and he was throwing into 3 people. The ball should have been going outside the numbers, because that's what the 5 wide was supposed to accomplish, but it defeats the purpose if the quarterback is just going and fixing on a primary read, and that's what was happening. He was just fixing on one target, and the defenders were just following his eyes. So, don't talk about things you don't know about. Talk about things you do know about, and there's a way of executing something, and then there's a way of executing your head coach, hopefully.
We're in favor of it, right?
You know, the saddest moment for me during that game was, I don't know whether it was like towards the end of the first quarter or beginning of the second, but there was a sideline shot of Watson, PJ Walker, and Dorian DTR.
Yeah.
And Watson's trying to explain to DTR what's going on. And off to the left sat a lonely AVP looking like the Maytag fucking repairman, not even like getting involved in the conversation. I'm thinking, this is what the problem is.
Well, AVP said that he should never have allowed Watson to get out of sorts like that. He should have coached him up, but he didn't. And he acknowledged that he didn't do it. AVP doesn't know why he's there. I don't know why he's there. I don't think anybody knows why he's there.
He should leave.
He serves no purpose. And we should get an offensive coordinator and put that to Stefanski and say, this is the offensive coordinator and this is how we're going to move forward with that. And you worry about being the head coach.
Yeah, I think we should send an open letter to D. Haslam saying, get a proper offensive coordinator. Don't send it to Jimmy because he can't read. Send it to D and maybe something will get done. Because I'm fucking sick. That was the most pathetic shot I've ever seen on a Brown sideline. And there have been plenty of those, haven't there, over the years?
I just want you to know it's not his fault he can't read, okay?
Bub by Brister? Is he bisexual?
Bye-bye, Brister.
Oh,
that was the other quarterback for Pittsburgh. That was the other one.
God almighty.
The former quarterback from 2 years ago had a decent game. He didn't lose it. That's all he has to do.
Oh, Baker?
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was nothing spectacular, but
he just didn't lose the game. He threw an interception, and he's going to be like I said, the Colt McCoy kind of a guy. He's going to be serviceable.
Chad Henne.
He's not going to win a game.
He loves the big play, but he doesn't really consistently make the big play. So that's not what
Patrick Mahomes. It's just
he's just not in a position to do that. Now, Christopher Milton, it's true. No matter whose defense you're running, you can't leave him on the field all day. That's absolutely right, and that's why injuries occur.
We're terrible, not weather. We are absolutely.
Oh wow! They're showing highlights of the Bears Broncos, and the Bears were still up 28-21, and they got in on Fields, and it the ball popped straight up, bounced once, and got picked up and ran back for a touchdown for the Broncos.
Oh man,
that's how they tied it up, and then they kicked the field goal to win it. Wow.
Yeah, and there's a lot that beat us. I look at it very simply. The Ravens beat us, okay? All the other stuff are excuses. They're circumstances. And those circumstances, if we have more injuries and people can't play, you can make excuses or you can do what the Ravens did and you can replace the people who are hurt with other people who do their jobs. That's what the strength of a full roster is. And not going to make excuses. And I'm not going to point at one thing. We got outplayed and out-intensified. But I agree with what the previous person said in the chat room. You can't leave your defense out that long. You have to be able to at least get first downs, pin people deep, hope your defense comes up large. But I, for one, didn't understand why Lamar Jackson was still in the game at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he finally put in Huntley on the last.
Yeah. I was waiting for Brinkley, the third string guy.
David Brinkley.
This is not designed for a young audience sometimes.
No, not at all.
No.
God.
They're over there Googling on their phone. What?
Who's Chet
Brinkley? What? I don't remember Brinkley. He played at Morehead State. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the university I want to really go to. Get more ed.
Is this true, David? That Jamar Chase said that? Yeah, he's turning into a head case.
He's OBJing.
Yeah, he is.
He's OBJing.
Yeah. He's like a Circle K. He's always open, right? Wow.
Wow.
I'm just trying to catch up with all the comments here. Yeah, and this is the way you have to look at it. This is a good attitude. I mean, Watson got to rest. He may need a lot more rest than just the bye. We don't know. And Pittsburgh did lose. But you got to win games to make the playoffs. Other teams losing don't mean anything. So one team will come out of the North, you see, and that's a big problem. And the Browns now are on the teeter-totter and very close to going 2-3 against a really good 49ers football team. So,
and you know what? Don't slack off on the Cards and the Rams. I mean, the Cards are not half bad either.
That's right.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the National Football League. These are professional players. They're anybody can freaking do it. But geez.
Yeah, and she's no Dorothy part-time even.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm just looking at all these comments. And it's interesting talking about Elijah Moore. There was an article that they got to figure out how to use him. And it's like,
no.
Well, you got this guy as being an explosive player. It's like, you don't know how to use him? You know what the problem is? He's a Swiss Army knife, but he doesn't do any one thing good. He doesn't break tackles. He's not big enough. He's not fast enough to outrun people, even when he changes directions. And he's not of prolific size to break tackles. If you throw to him on the flat, an arm will take him down. So what is he?
I don't know.
And that's too many of this in Cleveland. What he is the Demetric Felton of receivers.
Yeah, he's the all-purpose moose.
Right, exactly.
Well, that reminded me of the one punt return that the DPJ took, and the defender fell down on the play, and as he went to run past him, the guy grabbed him from the ground. I'm like, how Cleveland Brownsian of you at that point. The guy tackled you. He's laying flat on the ground and still managed to tackle our guy. It was just like,
Do you know that the play that they put on our 10-yard line that preceded Lamar Jackson's initial touchdown run, that they actually contacted him when his knee was down and nobody reviewed that?
Yeah, I know.
Why do we have a coaching staff? Is that a reviewable play? Am I missing something? He was down by contact.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are still photos that prove it.
Yeah.
Why was that not contested? I mean, I'm asking. I don't know the rules, because the rules of this game change constantly. I don't know what the rules are. But can you contest that? But Stefanski stood there just picking his nose with Steeler fans. I don't know. But that ball should never have been placed on the 10-yard line. That should have been down in Baltimore territory. So things get more curiouser and curiouser.
Wow.
And I think this will be Kevin Stefanski's last year if it continues where things lose their way. And I don't feel that he is a good leader of men at all. So my thoughts on Jedrick Wills. Yeah, I mean, it figures, everyone else around him gets injured but him.
Well, you have
had a good play, though.
Hit people to get
He
hurt.
had a good play. He recovered a fumble.
But
they could have.
But last week we saw the pictures of him standing still with blocking no one. It's like
right.
You actually have to block someone in order to get injured. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know who the offensive line is going to be, Jay. I really don't know. That's the other part of it. I mean, you're going to have Harris snapping the ball because Pokic's gone. He's gone. He's got a knee brace and crutches. He's done. So what's that?
Lamar Jones.
I think Jones will be back. It seemed like he might just have a concussion or something. The way you described
there
it,
might be reason that he had trouble getting up. It may have been a balance thing, which is why the referees allegedly made a quick decision to get him off the field. But they couldn't do it themselves. Of course, they needed a winch to get him off the field.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. And then Hudson the third, is going to be on the offensive line. So you can only milk so much out of the lack of depth on the offensive line, and we've already lost Conklin. Happens to us every year.
Fuck it. Just watch McCaffrey go through the Cardinals like a knife through butter. He's going to do that against the Browns, too. He just leaped over one guy and ran in from 20 yards out. They're leading 14-0, or will be 14-0.
David, I was going to ask if there's a possibility that David Njoku, if he plays, and he should play against the 49ers, if they'll let him literally torch the secondary by bringing his fire pit on the field. Just a question that I think every Browns fan.
Oh, that reminds me. We're all old here. The first thing I thought of when I heard of that injury, I thought of Richard Pryor. Did you guys think of that too?
Michael Jackson.
No. Michael Jackson, Richard Pryor.
I did not.
The king of pop.
Trying to smoke a freaking crack or whatever the hell he was trying to.
Yeah, at least he wasn't doing endos in the Tri-C parking lot, though, like the other tight end we had.
It is funny. Jamar Chase is always open, and T. Higgins has a rib fracture. When things go bad, they just go bad, and there are certain players who make things worse, and Jamar Chase seems to be one of them.
I mean, are we going to have a better record than the Bengals? I mean, or are we both racing towards the bottom here?
Well, I mean, it's definitely headed it completely in the wrong direction in Cincinnati. And I told everybody that Zach Taylor was not a good coach, and that's the way that was. That was the way it's going to go. I never had any confidence in him. I think that Burrow, unfortunately, has had injuries that have diminished him since he's come into the league. So it is what it is. That's funny. What is Joe Thomas going to do? He championed Jed Wills. Of course, he took him under his wing, but you can't make somebody have desire. You can't, it doesn't work out that way. Oh God. Let's see what else, if any other. We're getting Richard Pryor references. Your life is calling, JoJo Dancer. I could say he's moving, but if you don't know Richard Pryor, he'd be moving to Boise. You think so, B Skrills? You think he's still hurt? You know how hurt he is? He's more hurt than Johnny Cash. He's more hurt than 9 Inch Nails. He is hurt. Yeah, not a healthy thing when your quarterback is down like that. Well, I'd like to tell you that there's some analytical thing going on here, but what I can tell you is right now injuries are mounting. The Browns have to just get off the field, get into rehab, get as healthy as they can, and hope. And when David's trying to come in here at the last minute, you got something for us, David?
Yeah, Garrett's in a walking boot, but he says it's just precautionary. He says he got rolled up on.
Yeah, and that's what it looked like. And but you never know. When you see an ankle go in a funny direction, you just never know what it means. Right now it's like heal up and hope that your starting quarterback can play against the 49ers and design some kind of a game plan that makes sense. I don't know. But that they're going to look at that footage where the Ravens ran for 109 yards in the first half of the game by misdirecting the defense and using the over-aggressiveness of the defense. Teams are going to be looking at that, and there are going to have to be adjustments made by the Browns defense.
I think Schwartz can do that.
Well, I think that he's capable of doing it too, but this is the first sign that somebody figured something out. I remember Max Schmeling, that's my boxing thing again. When Max Schmeling fought Joe Louis all the way back when, in 1933, and Schmeling was a German who had a couple of losses in his career, and he had a manager, and the manager in training said, I sees something. But, und he said, I see something. And what he saw was that Joe Louis was using his jab but dropping his hands. And they were timing right hands throughout training. And Schmeling was hitting him with clean right hands and knocked him out late in the fight. That was the one loss that the real Joe Louis, carried until the very end. He lost to Ezra Charles, and he lost to Rocky Marciano. But in the end, when somebody sees something, they're going to exploit a weakness. And I think that something was divulged here, and the Browns have to make up for it. So
yeah. The main thing for me is, we were freaking 2-2 last year, and then the season tanked. Like we were like 2-5. I hope not, but I'm getting the same vibes that that's going to happen again.
Well, yeah, this is the same point. Yeah.
Well, and this, we coulda, shoulda, woulda. How do you know they would have gotten the right left tackle?
No.
How do you know they would have gotten the right future quarterback? Too many ifs in that equation. You go for somebody who's solid. The thing is, this is the first time, with the exception of the surgery that Watson went through, that he has missed a game due to a contact injury in the NFL, and it's happened in Cleveland. So I will leave that to you folks. So there you have it. I'm finished. I'm done. I've said everything I want to say, and I want to get back to my life. And
is there a Peter Alice comment for the day? Could be about the Browns or golf or anything. Really.
No. Yep. Nope. There's nothing. There's just Topaz. Topaz. No. Yeah. It's like, I don't know what happened. The team just did. I don't know. That quarterback was running for his life. I think he has a nervous tick now.
When they ran that stupid ender onto Elijah Moore, somebody said they should have put the Benny Hill theme over that.
Oh, my God. I mean, you want to talk about digging a hole deeper. Wow. That was everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate the support as always. We'll take this weekend off. Now, I do want to point out that I'm going back to Florida for the season, and I'll be leaving here in October the 13th, which is Friday, and I'll be back in time to watch the game that'll be on the 15th. That would be the Sunday, and I'm getting in like at midnight on the 13th, and Topaz will be transported by another vehicle to our destination in Florida. So I'll be opening up my new studio in Florida and getting that reopened. And so you'll see different backdrops and all that. But I'll be back in Northeast Ohio come mid-April. That is a promise, because we have had one hell of a good time here. I can honestly say one hell of a good time. There is not going to be a show, however, on the day of departure on Friday. That would be Friday the 13th. I'm not real happy about flying on that day.
You're not going to do an on the road special or whatever?
No.
Background.
Yeah, I'm just going to close up the house, get all my, we're not leaving until like 8:00 at night or something. And so I'm going to get all my ducks in a row. I'm going to get my ducks in a row, Joe, and get out of Dodge. So, but I will be seeing you on the halftime and postgame show on the 15th. And enjoy your bye weeks, and I'll be back again tomorrow for the Moohead Radio podcast. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.